Our LCS is Cowabunga Comics out of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, and their mail order company, Deep Discount Comics. And we went there, and we were actually invoice number 00001. We were the very first their very first customer, which was kind of cool. They've been nothing short of fantastic, customer service wise. Discounts, they were very close, if not the same or better than DCBS on a lot of things. Over and above, customer service wise, always taking care of us, going the extra mile, so responsive, getting instantaneous responses back to questions about things, and to the point where knowing the stuff you like and anticipating your needs and having it suggested that you might want to add this to your order already before you even have to think about it. That's kind of cool. Really quality experience. So we love working with Cowabunga and Deep Discount, and that's why they're in our show notes every single episode, and have been for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes. That we leave them there because we like them. They're cool, good people. That's why they're in there. By God, they'd tell you to, if you've got a local comic book shop that you love, stay with them, because everybody needs to support their local comic shops. But if you're looking, check them out. You can check them out in the show notes. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of them. Either get on their list, just so you can check and see what kind of FOC and pre-order stuff they have and the discounts, and they'll send it to you each month, get you on that email list. And you can check out their shop, because they have a great shop of exclusive Cowabunga variants. Amazing stuff. Yes, they've always been there for us, and we take them for granted. So there you go. Now you know. Time for a break from our show to pay the bills. Check out beacons.ai/comicsfunprofit for all the C4 FAP links you could ever need, all in one place. You can provide feedback, listen, support, share, enjoy these. We have our Patreon there. You can buy us a beer or a coffee. You can check out our Instagrams, our Twitters, our Facebooks. Check out our YouTube page. You can email us. You can listen to our podcasts on Patreon, if you're a subscriber, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on Podbean. We have Google Podcasts on there. We have an Amazon wish list. You want to buy Kyle and I something? Fine. You can do that here. We appreciate it. We have Kyle's RPG podcast listed on there, so you can check out his Dork Day afternoon offerings. We have Cowabunga links, so you can check out the Cowabunga Deep Discount FOC and pre-order list. Get on that. That's our LCS, so you can check that out as well. And we want to just give you opportunities to say hi, to check out what we're doing, support us if you would like, or just listen. Check out beacons.ai/comicsfunprofit for all the C4 FAP links you could ever need. Thanks. Back to the show.
Aloha! It's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing comic book writer and a friend of the podcast, Aneke Schultz. Now, I asked her to come back on the podcast to promote her amazing web store and her amazing website as well. So we're going to talk about some of her current projects, such as the new Blood Hunters miniseries that just came out, and also her San Diego Comic-Con experience. Aneke, welcome back to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me back.
No, Aneke, thank you very much. Okay, so where can listeners follow you on social media?
On Twitter, if you're still on Twitter, Instagram, on Twitter and Blue Sky, I'm Aneke Schultz 42. On Instagram and Threads, I'm Aneke Schultz Writes, WRITES.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so Aneke, I'm going to say, let's just start talking about your website, and then we'll start talking about your web store as well. Now, for listeners, where can they your website? What is your website address?
It's Aneke Schultz Writes, WRITES. The artwork on the website was done by my friend Chris Gugliotti, And the design of the website was done by my friend JL Draco, who used to work with me at the Neil Adams studio many, many moons ago. And Chris Gugliotti and I actually went to college together many moons ago.
That's so cool. Now, I believe it's under the section on your website, lots going on. You have a very cool video montage, and I love it because it's updated with some of your recent works. It has a great soundtrack for this short video. I'm going to ask who put that together.
My husband actually put that together. His day job is he is a film and television editor, and I asked him to put together just like a quick video, showcasing the recent books that have been coming out, and Rat City, because Rat City's the Spawn book that came out, how that's been doing really well and stuff, just to sort of, showcase. So the way he did it was really brilliant in the sense that, like, it's really easy for him to swap out certain covers and things like that. So when new stuff comes out, he can easily swap it out. The music, it was very funny because the music is literally just this like stock music site that we went to, and we found this track that we really liked, and you can buy a license for, if it's for personal use, you can buy a license for like $35. It's really very reasonable. So we found that, and we liked the song, so we were just like, let's throw that in, and we can use it anytime we want because we bought the license for it. So
but it's so cool. I just love it. It's great. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, okay, so now let's start talking a little bit. Where am I? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a little lost on my question.
Okay.
I know what I wanted to talk to you before I jumped into the on your web store was because you also sell here it is. Okay, so because on your web store you have a link to, is it coffee? Because you sell,
I think it's coffee, but it's spelled so weird that I say Ko-Fi and everybody's like, it's coffee, and I'm like, yeah, but if you say coffee, people are thinking like COFFEE as opposed to KO-FI. So I have a web store on Coffee, Ko-Fi, whatever you want to call it, where I do a lot of weaving. I do like macrame weaving, knotting, things like that. And it's something I've done for a million years, and it's really therapeutic because when I'm anxious or when I sort of have like kinetic energy that I can't express, I just sit there and I just do all these weaving things. So I started just doing random ones, and then I started doing, like, when X-Men 97 came out, I did like a whole bunch of blue and gold ones in like the X-Men blue and gold. And then I have like red ones for Daredevil, and I did like Winter Soldier ones, with the silver and stuff. So I've been doing them sort of associating with particular comic book characters, either that I'm working on or I want to work on. So I've been doing that. I put like a bunch of Hawkeye because I love purple, so I put like a bunch of Hawkeye ones up there and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I wear them as bracelets. I also like use them as key rings. I use them as bookmarks, all kinds of things. The other thing is that because they're very tactile, like sometimes they're really good to just sort of like sit and just sort of like rub your hand on to sort of get out a little anxiety kind of thing. So I use them for that. And I especially with everybody doing friendship bracelets for Swifties and stuff like that. At San Diego, I had like a giant bag with me, and I was like trading bracelets with people at San Diego. They actually had a friendship bracelet. On the schedule, it was they had a friendship bracelet meetup for like 15 minutes every day. Like you would meet in front of like in the grass in front of the Omni Hotel. And they said, like, just random strangers are going to be there trading friendship bracelets. So go do that. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I would go and like trade friendship bracelets with like, random strangers and stuff. So it was really cool. And I like doing it. It's another way of expressing myself through art.
Oh, yes. No, that's great. But you know what's kind of nice too is that But thank you for letting me know, because like you said, you can use it as a bookmark. That's great, because I mean,
I do, yeah.
because I'm gonna not this month, maybe next month or the following month, when but I'm gonna go and buy one from you, because I'm gonna use it for a bookmark, because I still have, like, I'm reading a couple, I'm reading like a Star Trek book, but it's kind of big, and it's like, instead of just making the pages go dog-eared.
Dog-earing the page, yeah.
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 Oh, that is so cool. All right. No, but thank you for sharing that, Erica. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, your web store. So, and I wrote this down. So if someone buys a print, either printed issue or a trade, you have it signed. Now, on
Mhm.
your site, it mentions that the book can be personalized on request. Do you want to talk about how can someone get their book personalized? Like, for me, if I wanted to have, like, um Blood Hunters #1 that just came out recently, the new miniseries. If I wanted to have it personalized for Drew, how can I do that? Like, Happy Birthday, Drew, or something.
So you had actually very smartly pointed out that I hadn't explained that on the site. So when we emailed each other a few days ago before recording this, I thought, oh my God, Jason pointed out something like so critical. I need to fix this. So what I've done is I've put on the website that if you would like it personalized, to
Mhm.
just send me an email and just say, like, on this date, I ordered this book, please write Happy Birthday Drew or Happy Birthday Jason, or, to whomever. And then this way, when I'm as I'm signing and packaging everything up, then I'll turn around and, like, okay, yeah, I got to write Happy Birthday Drew, and make sure that that's figured out. Yeah.
Okay. And then also, too, now, all items that are shipped now, it's also on your website. All items are shipped via USPS Media Mail. Um, I'm just want to clarify for listeners: is it only items that's going to be shipped in the US?
Yeah, as of right now, I'm only doing US shipping simply because international shipping has become really so expensive
Yes.
that it's what's the phrase? It's cost prohibitive
Mm-hmm.
to pick up the books. I mean, if I had like a UK base or something like that, then it
Mm-hmm.
would be a lot easier. But yeah, it really is pretty cost prohibitive. Like, if you wanted to pick up a book from me and you lived, in Europe, or, Africa or Asia or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's a lot easier to just go to your actual shop
Mm-hmm.
and pick it up
Yeah.
versus, getting it from me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, shipping really is just out of control right now,
It
and
is.
especially international shipping. So I don't want somebody to be like, oh, I want all these books, and then when they see the shipping price, they're like, oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, as of right now, it's US, it's the US only. Sorry,
No,
international.
no, but I just wanted to clarify that, because I don't want someone like in Canada, or let's say someone that's
Like somebody in Brazil, I would love
yeah.
to send you books, but you know, as of right now, I'm not going to CCXP, but if I ever go to CCXP, I will happily sign books for people in Brazil.
Oh, so are you kind of dropping hints that you want to be invited?
I mean, if I could ever be invited to, I mean, there's a couple of international conventions that I would love to go to. I would love to go to Comic-Con Africa. I would love to go to, I want to say there's a convention in Johannesburg in South
Holy
Africa.
cow.
I would love to go to CCXP in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Um, I would love to go to MoleCon in Mexico. There's a lot of conventions that I would absolutely adore to go to. I would love to go to, is it Vancouver Comic Con? It's on the west coast of Canada. There's a big con over there that I would love to go to. So, just putting it out there into the ether. See what the universe does.
Oh, oh, but that would be so cool if one, yeah, they invite you one of these organizers hear this and they invite you. That'd be so cool. All
I
right.
mean, half passport will travel. So
Yes. All right. So, um, and because listeners, I already talked to Erica about this, and I just love her web store because you know, I really think the prices, to buy a book and have it signed by her is very reasonable. And I'm always going to and please, I'm going to say this is please when check the website because I know at least I think some of the issues the prices vary a little bit by $1. Like I think Rat City
yeah,
#1 is like I think a double size, so it's a little expensive compared to just a regular price
yeah.
book. I think it's $1 less. But yeah, but I just love it. It's great.
Thank
Um,
you.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
JL Draco did a great job in designing it, and since he sort of set up, the design and the template and everything, I can pretty much tweak it when I need
mhm.
to. If there's something big that I need to do, then I'll just call him up and be like, "Hey, how's it going? Can you help me out with this?" But I mean, he's one of the great things about JL is that he's a really good teacher in the sense that like he makes things really accessible for people. And I never really had done anything with web design. And when
Mhm.
he was setting up the website, he was, basically teaching me as he was setting it up.
That's
Um, so, if there were any troubleshooting things that I needed,
mhm.
it's if this happens, it's probably this. Check this first before
Mhm.
you worry about something. And he's really, I mean, he's helped me immensely. And he and his wife he and his wife Lindsay run a company called Oneshi Press, where they do anthologies and these
Oh
fabulous
yes,
stories and stuff.
yeah.
And you'll see, yeah. And I will consistently be posting like their Kickstarters and things like that. So yeah, so JL and I go way back.
Oh, okay. That is so cool. Okay. Now, um, we're not gonna we're not gonna go through everything that is available as of now through Erica's website. I just want to pick out some of her works. And listeners, again, I encourage you to check out her web store. Now, now you've already mentioned this. Rat City is part of the
Mm-hmm.
Spawn universe. Already, I believe you have 4 issues up on your website that are available for purchasing. Um, what is the story about?
So Rat City takes place in the future of the
Hmm.
Spawn universe. The Spawn universe is currently in 2024, and this takes place in 2111. And it centers around this ex-soldier and amputee. His name is Peter Cairn, and he has these nanite-infused prosthetic legs. He lost
Hmm.
his legs in battle, and the nanites are infected when this bomb goes off and this shockwave goes across New York City. His nanites are infected with
Hmm.
this, let's, how would I call it? Kind of like demon disease, for lack
Oh,
of a
okay.
better term. And so the nanites then start creating the Spawn costume around him. So
Oh,
he's very different from Al Simmons because
yes.
Al
Hmm.
Simmons is dead
Yeah.
and became a Spawn from, crawling out of hell, whereas Peter's not dead. He's
Hmm.
not from hell, and he's actually not even called a Spawn. He's called the Deviant.
Oh.
So the company that gave him his nanites
Hmm.
and gave him his prosthetic legs, when they encountered him as Spawn,
Hmm.
they said that he's a deviant. He's a deviation
Hmm.
from what they expected. So he is now known in that universe as the deviant.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, how did you team up with Todd McFarlane on this series?
I actually was got teamed up with Thomas Keeley, who's the editor in chief over at Todd McFarlane Todd
Hmm.
McFarlane Productions. And Thomas approached me at New York Comic Con in 2022 and was saying, we're going to be expanding the Spawn line, and we'd love to chat with you about maybe doing something in this new expanded universe. So we had sort of gone back and forth
Hmm.
on email, and then finally got to sit down to have a chat in early 2023. And I sort of pitched this idea of, this soldier going into the future,
Mm-hmm.
and this idea of this soldier, and being able to talk about like veterans, the way veterans are treated and
Mm-hmm.
veterans' rights, and how we can link him to Al Simmons, but it's not a direct one-to-one. And
Yes.
how he will have, being, Al Simmons was a Marine, he was, in war.
Mm-hmm.
Peter has the same, but they're very, very different,
Yes.
in different ways, and sort of expanding on the universe. And Thomas really liked the idea, so I sent I wrote up 3 or 4 pages as like a pitch about where I really see the story going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met with Joe Prado, who is a phenomenal Brazilian artist who also represents other artists like in Brazil and in South America.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe introduced me to Jay Carlos, who's the line artist on this.
That's right.
And
Yes.
Jay and I riffed about like different designs and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And it just came together, and we were
Mm-hmm.
really very lucky. And it's funny that you mentioned that issue number 1 is a little more expensive, because it's a 32-page issue versus a 20-page issue.
Yeah.
And my original script was, okay, it's going to be 20 pages. And I
Yeah.
wrote it and I sent it in, and Thomas came back and he's like, okay, this is good, but I think we can go a little deeper. Because this is a first issue,
Mm-hmm.
let's make it an oversized. If you want to do like 32, 36 pages, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Really, delve into the character. So I was like, all right. So then that, expanded that first issue more. So we had more leeway to really give more context to Peter's story, and to really delve into who he was in
Mm-hmm.
that first issue. So by
Yeah.
the time you get to issue number 2, you really know who he is,
Yes.
versus like more, like
Yeah. Yes.
breadcrumbs along the way kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, but thank you very much thank you for that nice little tidbit of why it's like it's like a extra size edition. Oh, that is so cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's 32 pages versus your standard 20.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Now, you have the Blood Hunters anthology miniseries. Now, this is the one that was tied into the Marvel Summer Event Blood Hunt. Now, what is that? What was that miniseries story about?
So in the Blood Hunters miniseries that just launched this past Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
what we do is the anthology has got a bunch of stories, short stories from tons of different artists and writers, that just tell these little snippets of,
Oh, okay, yeah.
a particular character in the greater world that is which is Blood Hunt, which I've been calling everybody's a vampire, and those who are not a vampire are getting chased.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
so basically, what my story was, I was the only one who had a story that continued through. So Bernard Chang and I and Manuel Maiolo, we had done a story that's building this super team. So it starts with Dagger, and then
Yes.
added to Dagger is Elsa Bloodstone, and
Mm-hmm.
then White Widow comes into play,
Yes.
and then Hallows Eve joins the group.
Mm-hmm.
So that anthology builds that team,
Mm-hmm.
and then we come back and we have the mini series
Mm-hmm.
where we add Miles Morales, and in issue 2 we actually add a new member of the Blood Hunters team. And so we now that we have our team assembled, now
Yes.
they're off to sort of find all the vampires that weren't wrapped up in Blood Hunt, and to make sure that they don't cause any more havoc.
Oh, okay. But that's right. The Blood Hunters anthology. That's right. It was the one that came out during the event was an anthology miniseries. That's right. I
Yeah.
just want to throw this in off the cuff. Listeners, again, this is a great opportunity to check out Erica's store, pick up a copy. She has that sign because again, with these anthology miniseries, it's written and drawn by the other stories are written and drawn by other artists. And what's so cool is that now it's not available on your site. Marvel Zombies, I think it was number 2, the one you wrote, the Billy
Oh, Beta Ray Bill.
Yes. Oh my God. I almost said a wrong
Yeah.
name. Yeah. But now that's no longer available on your website, but I'm glad I picked it up because um Gail Simone wrote the Fantastic Four story in there.
Yes, which is I love that story. It is so heartfelt,
Uh-huh.
and it's such a good story. Yes, Gail, and I think Dale Eaglesham was the artist on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But 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 what I loved about this was because Erica, I love your story. It was a story about hope in that one. That's what I love about it. So I just
Yeah.
picked it up because it was a great story. Now I was like, yeah, okay, it's available. I'm going to get it signed by you, and that's great. Now, without knowing this, because I just found out over the weekend, Gail Simone is coming down to Comic Con Honolulu, and I'm going to have her. Oh, it's going to be great. So, again, listeners, if you guys get a chance, pick up the Blood Hunters anthology or any of the comics in it, you already have Erica's, autograph on there. And if you go to different conventions where either the artists or writers are there, you can have them sign it there too. It's just so.
Gail is actually really excited about going to the Honolulu Con because she had mentioned it. She's mentioned it online too about like, oh wow, what a terrible life I live. I have to go to Honolulu convention, and we're like, oh yes, you have such a horrible life, put upon to have to go to Hawaii for a convention. But no, she's really excited about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I know last year, she came down for a Maui Comic Con back in
Mm-hmm.
last December. And that's great and I was very surprised that, well, not surprised, it's not take it the wrong way, but it was just, it's great, but I was kind of surprised that, yeah, they have, that another local comic organizer brings her back to Hawaii. And it's on Oahu. It's a different island, but that's just so cool. Um, Oh, one other thing before we start moving on is now the new Blood Hunter miniseries that just came out because I read part of it. I love it. And now this is off the cuff, Erica. You have Miles coming across a group of vampires, and he's kind of like, "What up, party people?" Isn't that your like
I
quote unquote
always
catchphrase?
I say that all the time. I It's so much so that at parties with friends, when I would be leaving the party, I'd say,
Yeah.
"Peace out, party people,"
Mhm.
and a friend of a friend used to make fun of me at that because I
Mhm.
was thinking, I was like what would be a fun way for that's like catchy and that Miles would say and things like that. And I'm like, what up, party people? Like,
Yeah.
hey, how's it going? Like, what are you young kids doing these days? And yes, I always say party people. Well, I think the other reason is because when people say, hey guys, some people can take that personally
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
you're not talking to men necessarily. So I think party people covers all
Yes.
genders, covers everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's kind of my all-inclusive way of saying hey everybody. But yes, I say hey party people all the time on the X-Men Discord. They're just like, yeah, we get it, Erica.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
Yes, that is me.
Now the next one that's available is Daredevil Woman Without Fear #1. Now,
Yes.
I what is that story about?
So in Daredevil #8, there were a ton of stories because it was the big, 60th anniversary of Daredevil. And I had done a very quick short about a character named Alice, who at the end of the Marco Cicchetto and Chip Zdarsky run
Mhm.
was living with Elektra, was kind of like Elektra's ward, for lack of a better
Mhm.
term. And you don't have to read that short story to understand this, but this kind of piggybacks off of that, where Alice is living with Elektra, and Alice is kidnapped,
Mhm.
and Elektra is basically Elektra is sent to Madripoor to try and save her. So
Okay.
Elektra's kind of sent on this wild goose chase,
Hmm.
picking up clues to try and find where Alice is and
Hmm.
how she's going to be able to get her back.
Hmm. Oh, okay. All right. Now, this is an off the cuff question, and correct me if I'm
Mm-hmm.
wrong, because we both know there's tons of comics, out there, and
Yeah.
it's things are easily missed. Um, Now, actually, has Frank Miller ever, or how excited would you be if Frank Miller did one of your covers for Electra Women Without Fear? Huh?
I I would be blown away if it
Mhm.
happened. I have no way of contacting Frank Miller
Yeah.
or anything like that, but it would be pretty amazing. I know that he had done a couple of covers for some of the other. I know they had them in previews a few months ago, and he had done a cover for like a Wolverine book. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was X-Men specifically or if it was a Wolverine book, and he had done a Daredevil cover. Um, but I mean, if Frank Miller ever wants to do Woman Without Fear cover, I would not stop him at all.
Oh, that would be pretty cool.
That's that's not my call. I mean, that's Marvel reaching out and
Oh
being
no,
like, "Hey,
yeah.
Frank,
Yeah.
can you do a cover for us?" Yeah.
All right. The next one, Black Widow, Venomous. It's a one shot. That's on your website, and it just came out. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it came out. Well, I know listeners, when this interview comes out, you guys are going to be okay. It's out already. It's out in stores already. Now, what is this story about?
Okay, so people may or may not know that Black Widow actually has a symbiote now. So in Venom number 27, I believe, it was
Hmm.
written by Torun Grönbeck. Um, Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, gets a symbiote.
Hmm.
The Venom symbiote is blown up, and there's this like little, smudge
Hmm.
that decides to follow Natasha home, and that becomes its own symbiote. And Natasha's been using that symbiote
Hmm.
in in her work with the Thunderbolts and with the Avengers and
Hmm.
everything, and even in the latest Black Widow and Hawkeye series, that miniseries that was out.
Oh.
So they want to go. This is going to lead into the Venom War
Yes.
story that's coming out later this month. So what they wanted to do was they wanted to set up this idea of Natasha and her symbiote, and for the people who hadn't been reading Venom, to really understand what's going on. So Natasha and the symbiote are on a mission, and Natasha realizes that she's not meshed with symbiote. Like the symbiote has a mind of its own,
Hmm.
and it's off doing its own thing, and
Yeah.
that to somebody like Natasha is a liability. So she says, you need to be trained. If you
Hmm.
and I are going to work together, then you need to know how I work,
Hmm.
and you need to be trained like I was. So she basically trains the symbiote, and we see a bunch of different cameos from people who throughout Natasha's life. We see Natasha's own training when she was
Hmm.
young in the Red Room, when she was part of the KGB, and we see Natasha expanding the relationship that she has with the symbiote and
Hmm.
how they can actually become more like each other than fighting against each
Hmm.
other.
Yes.
Um, and then that will then lead into the Venom War series that's coming up that Al Ewing is writing. And I mean, there's a bunch of tie-ins. I know Torun Grönbeck is writing a tie-in, and Tim Seeley's writing another tie-in.
Hmm.
Um, so that sort of sets the stage for the Venom War series that's coming out.
Hmm. Okay. Oh my God, I can't. Now I'm really excited to read this one shot. You know what I also love about, and this is off the cuff, what I really love about is that because I've flipped through the pages, is that when the Venom suit takes over her, it's so nice because it looks a little more menacing, and it comes out with the nice Black Widow design in that you see on the spike. It's like now it looks more menacing, and that's what I love.
Yeah,
It's great.
Luciano Vecchio, who was the main artist on this, he did a whole thread I mean, first of all, he redesigned everything. He went very John Romita when it comes to the way Natasha is designed. And he went through this really long Twitter thread where he shows all his inspiration. And there was some Argentinian pop artist in like the early 2000s who had this look that, you know, he really loved. And so he like posts like the music video from her, and then he posts like all this different stuff and some of the character designs that he had done in the beginning. And we were all just blown away. Like I mean, getting pages from Luciano, I literally wrote back to him. I was like, how are you real? Like no one can be this talented, this nice, this handsome. Like this is not possible. Like you're too incredible. And so he worked on this one shot, and then they said, well, let's keep you two together for the miniseries. So then there's going to be a 3-issue Venom War miniseries. So Luciano and I have like worked on 4 issues together, and it's just, I mean, it's stunning. It's stunningly beautiful. And Dave Muriel and Rochelle Rosenberg are the colorists on the one shot, and then Rochelle is taking over colors for the miniseries. And again, like I've said this a million times, like when you're working on a comic, every layer has to complement the other. So it's like Luciano has these beautiful layouts and this gorgeous line art, and then Rochelle's colors just like make everything pop. And then, you know, Joe Caramagno's lettering makes everything great. I mean, it's just like a whole package. And yeah, it's a gorgeous book. I keep joking, you know, if you don't like the story, just look at the pretty pictures, you know, because they're really beautiful. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do the one shot, especially delving into Natasha's, like, people that have helped train her in the past, and what knowledge they've given her that she's really held on to. So,
but I'm gonna say, I think what's really nice, just from listening you talk about this one shot, is that it's really nice because it kind of brings people, it goes back to touches back on Natasha's origin, because I mean, because, you know, I mean, her character has almost 50, 60 year of history, and it gets, and people forget, like, oh, that's right, yeah, she was a KGB agent, oh, that's right, you know. And it's nice that you kind of like, no, you know, you bring it forward just to remind us who she is, and that's so cool.
I want to say it was Tales of Suspense number 52 in April 1964. I want to say that that's her first appearance. I don't believe that's her first appearance as Black Widow, but I believe that's Natasha Romanoff's first appearance. And then, you know, the lore of the KGB agent and the Red Room and all that other stuff was added, you know, as they expanded on who she was as a character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she's been around for a really long time, and people don't remember, she used to wear like a blue dress with like a veil, like a widow.
That's right.
You know, that was one of the first outfits that they had. So that cat suit, that, you know, that black lycra suit basically didn't come about until when she started showing up in Spider-Man, I want to say in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
So it was interesting that Luciano was going back to, and like we talked about, like, well, do we want to do like a complete throwback, or what do we want to do here? And Luciano was like, I really want to lean into like some John Romita, and not just, you know, her look, but also the style and the style of the pages, and as well as, you know, like some Jim Steranko, you know, if you look at, you know, the Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I mean, that book has got crazy layouts to the point where like you sometimes have to like turn the book and things like that. So Luciano sort of leaned into that. So it was definitely a big throwback to Romita Sr. and Steranko, and then just, you know, trying to do Natasha, you know, pride when it came to showing her and showing how skilled she is, and how, and basically how, you know, she doesn't need the symbiote, but now she's using the symbiote as another tool in her arsenal of super spy stuff.
Oh, yes, that's right. Oh my, that's so cool. That is. All right. I'm sorry, Eric. I'm going to continue on because I want to talk about some of your cool package deals. Like you have the Daredevil Gang War 4-issue miniseries. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Gang War wrapped up earlier this year. So what is
Gang
yours?
War wrapped up in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is yours now? This is the package deal, of course, again, like I said, I'm repeating this, is that it's a 4-issue miniseries. It's the package deal available on our website. What is the story about?
Gang War is mainly took place in Spider-Man, and it started last autumn, late autumn. So it was like November when it started, and it has a lot to do with Tombstone and Robbie Robertson
Yes.
from the Daily Bugle, and Tombstone's daughter was supposed to marry Robbie's son, but then there was like an assassination attempt at the wedding, and basically it just kicked off this firestorm. And so between Luke Cage, who was mayor at the time, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Jen Walters, She-Hulk, and a bunch of different characters, including Shang-Chi, there was basically all the gangs of New York, whether it was the Ten Rings gang or it was Madame Mask, Kingpin, everybody was sort of saying, you know what, there's a power vacuum here now. Now that Tombstone seems to be like off the board, there's a bit of a power vacuum. And so all of the different basically the different gangs were just sort of fighting each other to see who's going to come out as, top dog. And so Elektra was helping Peter Parker, and then she learned of a gang called the Heat as part of this gang of basically like corrupt police that were trying to take over Hell's Kitchen. So she's like, all right, look, Matt is off doing his thing. I think Matt was still technically dead at the time. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
And she just, starts fighting this police group. And then there's this new character, well, not new to the series, but a new character that is sort of thrown in as a chaos agent. And the biggest issue is that Elektra has made the promise to Matt Murdock that she will not kill. And that's the only reason why she's allowed to wear the DD for Daredevil. And this new chaos agent is really going to test that promise that she made, because she's going to push Elektra a lot farther. And she's more formidable to Elektra than Elektra is used to. Elektra's used to being, the number one badass of the Marvel universe. And, this new person comes in and shows her I'm pretty cool too. So yeah.
Oh,
and Sergio Devia was the artist. Sergio Devia was the penciler. Sean Parsons was the artist, and Cece Dela Cruz was the colorist. And it's just, the pages are just, they're stunning. They're absolutely stunning. Elektra has, I mean, it's so comics that like, there shouldn't be, all that hair should not be able to fit in that helmet. But she has this like giant, beautiful, like flowing hair. And it's just, I mean, it's beautiful. And Sergio had actually done a cover for that Gang War miniseries, but they ended up using it for Daredevil Woman Without Fear. And it is a Joe Quesada homage cover. So in the Joe Quesada cover, it is Daredevil who is on, like, holding on to the cross on top of the church. Well, Sergio did a version with Elektra as Daredevil for Gang War originally, but they ended up not doing that. But now it's a variant cover for Women Without Fear.
Oh, that's nice. That is very nice. All right, Erica, we've got a little bit more time left. I want to start moving on to some of your other works. The Deadliest Bouquet. The trade is available on your website. what is this for listeners? Because I've read this story. It's a great story. What is the story about?
So the log line for it is in 1998, three estranged sisters reunite to solve their mother's murder and try not to kill each other in the process. It takes place in New Jersey in 1998, and these three girls who have been trained as assassins by their mother return when their mother is mysteriously murdered. And it deals a lot with how we deal with grief. It also deals with sibling rivalry and relationships. And it also deals with the fact that when someone passes away, like, there tends to be this notion that, oh, well, of just only looking at the good of what that person did.
Yeah.
And that tends to sort of make everybody a saint. And they turn around and they, these three sisters have a lot of anguish between each other.
Yes.
And they all have to like analyze their relationship with each other, but also their own personal relationships with their mom. So yeah, it's a pretty personal story because I wrote it not long after my dad passed. So I was sort of grieving my dad and dealing with my own, thoughts about our relationship and such. I'm also, one of three. I'm the youngest of three kids, and the story is about these three sisters. But it's a murder mystery. It's a family drama. I like to say that it's Clueless meets Knives Out. So Clueless for the 90s aesthetic, and then Knives Out for, the family sort of sniping at each other. So
I love this story. My favorite character is, now correct me if I'm wrong, she was the middle sister, Poppy. Because Rose was the oldest, right? Poppy's the middle,
and
then
Violet.
Yes.
Violet was the youngest. Yes. Punchy Poppy.
Yeah, I love Poppy because she was just that. How you wrote her, I love it because she's that housewife. The husband has no idea. She can literally kill someone in an instant, and something. And you got to correct me if I'm wrong because it's been a while since I read. But I love Poppy because I think she'd be like, "Oh my God, we got to make sure that the kids are fed." Before, that kind of, and it's genuine. It's sincere. It's not like, okay, all right, once I put the kids in bed, I'm off to my my assignment or something.
Yeah, Poppy's the one who tried really hard to get away from everything and to kind of try to forget where she came from. But she's, indoctrinated is pretty much the only word I could say. She was literally indoctrinated into this life. So even though she moved out to California and she had, got married, had some kids, and, she's working as like a bookkeeper, she comes back and she's sucked right back in. So it's this idea of like, you can escape your past, but it's going to catch up to you no matter what. And that's what she's dealing with. Whereas Rose was the daughter who stayed the entire time. So Rose was dealing with the resentment against her sisters for going off and leaving and being like, well, I was the one stuck here this whole time. And, now you making me take responsibility for everything again. So, yeah. And they each have their own little thing. But, it's a fun dynamic between them. And I love that story because it's a very true to life story in the sense that like the dynamic between the family is something that anybody can relate to.
No, thank you very much. Now, listeners, I just want to put a note out here. Now, on the website, there are two versions of this of the trade paperback, and it's listed at different prices. One has now, because the Deadliest Bouquet actually started off as a Kickstarter. So that one, check the price on that one because that Kickstarter has an exclusive cover by Kevin Wada. And then after the Kickstarter and everything, Image Comics, published all 5 issues, and then now it's a trade paperback available on Erica's website. Now, Erica, this is off the cuff question because on your website you have the fifth issue of the Deadliest Bouquet. It has a Spawn 30th anniversary variant
Yes.
cover on it. A fun cover, fun question, not a fun question. Will we see a cameo of the flower store in Rat City in the future?
I have never been asked that. Interesting. As of right now, no.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that Les Trois Fleurs, which was the name of the flower store, I'm not saying that won't show up. But the reason why we have that is because it was the 30th. We were putting out Deadliest Bouquet, and it was the 30th anniversary of Spawn, and I had that cover in the works before I met Thomas Healy, before I had that whole conversation. So it was just kind of kismet when I met Thomas and they were saying, oh yeah, we'd love for you to work on something Spawn. And then I thought, oh my God, like this is bizarre because of all things, you know, that would have nothing to do with Spawn, something so reality based. Why not just throw Spawn in there? And Chris Campana and Jeremy Clark and Thomas Chu were the artists that banged out that cover really, really well. And they did it super fast, and I was so grateful to them. But yeah, that's a hell of a cover, and it's, you know, a hell of a thing to be like, oh, this is kind of a random thing to put Spawn in, but you know, it was you know, kind of like a line wide, you know, Spawn 30th anniversary. So yeah.
All right. Your next one you have for the Forgotten Home Trade. Now, originally this was a comiXology 8-part series. This is a great story. I love this story. It was nominated for 5 Ringo Awards. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it 2020? I can't remember what year. I thought. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Now, for listeners, what is this great story about?
It is about a young woman who escapes her home, which is actually another world, and comes to Earth and starts a life here. And then she becomes a police officer. And when we first meet her, there is a rash of child kidnappings, and she's investigating it. And what she learns is that the kidnappings are actually happening from people from her home world. And while she's investigating it, her daughter and her daughter's best friend are caught up and end up being kidnapped as part of this. And she has to go back to her home world, and she has to deal with the evil queen and, you know, relationships that she left when she, you know, ran away. And there's a lot of emotional baggage. And one of the other big things is that when she's in her home world, she has, as a member of the royal family, she has a type of magic. So being back in her home world, she thinks that, oh, everything will be fine, I'll just use my magic. But she hasn't been there in so long that she's really, really rusty. And it shows. So, yeah.
You know, listeners, again, like I said, it's a great story. This is Erica, one thing I know we talked about this in a past interview. One thing I loved about this story is it's great that the comiXology originals gave you, or, you know, people at comiXology, they gave you time to let the story breathe. 8 issues, because there's some nice quiet moments, because I'm going to say, because I still remember, you know, at least one of that quiet moments, and I can't remember the 2 creatures that were husband and wife, or they were, you know, in a relationship. It was a nice moment, you know. That was great.
I think and this is actually, when we were pitching it, this was actually something that we had talked about with publishers, because we had pitched to numerous publishers, and a lot of them were like, can you make it 4 issues? Or can you make it 5 issues? Like, we don't want to go to 8. And yeah, I could have cut a lot out and turned it into 5 issues, and we could have done it as 5. But I liked, there were so many interpersonal relationships that were important. And like you said, those quiet moments. Because when you have nothing but, this frenetic energy over and over and over again, you start losing speed on it. Whereas if you have this like crazy battle and then you have the quiet moment of contemplation, that makes that crazy battle have a little more weight to it. So I wanted the space to do quiet moments, and the artist Marika Cresta, the line artist, who was one of the nominees for a Ringo Award, as well as the cover artist Natasha Alterici. We really liked the idea of, drawing out the story and having those moments and showing these interpersonal relationships, because some of the people in the story are not humanoids. Yes. And we wanted the space to be able to give them, make them more human in the sense of like emotions, because a lot of them look like rock people. Like literally, they just look like they're made of a bunch of boulders. And you look at that and all you think is like, oh my God, this like very, stern and physically hard creature, but yet they have emotions. They are very human in the sense of their interpersonal relationships. And we wanted the space and the time to be able to explore into that as well. So I thought that was really great, that comiXology had given us the opportunity to do it in 8 issues. And then Dark Horse took the reins, and they came out with a printed copy, because originally it was only going to be a digital series, and then Dark Horse went and printed the collected edition.
Right. Yeah. No. But thank you very much. Okay. Few more minutes. Actually, I'm going to one last work I want you to talk about is Christabel. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This one is an original graphic novel. Is that correct?
Yes, Christabel actually was a Kickstarter in 2023, and it is volume 1 of an original graphic novel. I'm hopefully finishing volume 2 before September, the script for volume 2. It was based on a poem that I had read in college that was supposed to be 5 parts, and only 2 parts were written. So I'm trying to finish out the last 3 parts of the poem with Amagoya Aguirre, who's the phenomenal artist on this, and James Emmett, who's our editor.
Oh, nice. Okay. Because also too, because you mentioned that, that actually was supposed to be like, it's supposed to be a little bit longer. If I remember correctly from our previous interview, that this story has a little bit more of a special meaning to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I've loved this poem since college. The poem Christabel by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and it sort of haunted me for a really long time. And the fact that the second part ends on a cliffhanger, and people who are academics have been searching for any semblance, like outlines or anything, of where the rest of the story was supposed to go. And nobody can find anything, as far as I know in my research. So I really liked the idea of taking what was laid out as the foundation and building on that. I mean, there's a couple of things that I changed, like in the original poem, Christabel's father is a baron. In this, I make him a king. So a couple of like really minute changes, but I really expanded on this idea of her in the future now, because in the original poem, she's about 14. And when we pick up, she's 26, and she's been kicked out of the kingdom, and she's basically, what do I call her? Our blue-haired mercenary princess, and so she is, making her way back home to try and, kill the woman who has been influencing her father and who sort of forced her father to kick her out in the first place. And along the way, she reunites with her mentor, who is this knight named Wajun, who was also kicked out by the same, by her stepmother. And so the two of them together are trying to sort of, build troops, build influence to be able to go back and say, we're here, we're taking over, kind of thing. So volume 1 ends with Christabel, Wajun, and a new character named Roland who comes and joins the crew, and they're leaving the Central Territory to be able to make their way back up north to try and take the castle. And that's where Volume 1 leaves. And then Volume 2 picks up from there. And yeah, I have the rest, worked out. I just have to finish the script for it. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That is very nice. Okay, I'm going to start wrapping things up because listeners, again, check Erica's web store. She has a lot of stuff available. There was a couple other things I wanted to ask her, but like I said, I don't want to keep her, too long. Let's talk about San Diego Comic-Con. How was San Diego Comic-Con this year for you?
It was crazy. It was great. I had a great time. I spoke on a bunch of panels. We announced the new Laura Kinney Wolverine series that I'm doing with Giada Belviso and Rochelle Rosenberg. And so that was great to be able to announce that. I got to see Gail, which was great. She was also on the Women of Marvel panel. I did a few panels for Image and some signings for Spawn. And I did the signing at the Prism Comics panel. I got to see my friend Julian, who I haven't seen in a million years. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And there are people that I only see when I go out for San Diego Comic-Con. So it was great to be able to make sure that I get to see those people and give hugs and everything.
That's so cool. Okay. Now we know that Hallows Eve has an action figure out. Now I know. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you posted it on your Twitter feed.
Yes.
What was your reaction when you saw a Rat City Deviant Spawn action figure at the convention?
I got to see the prototype. I refused to touch it. Somebody was like, "Here, hold it." I was like, "No." I was afraid I was going to break it.
Yeah.
So there's a photo actually of one of the people who were working the Spawn booth sort of holding it next to me because I was afraid to touch it. But it was so cool to see the design that Jay had put together in physical form was great. And Todd had mentioned, a few months ago about maybe putting it together. But it was only until I was literally standing next to it did I think, oh my God, this thing is reality. And it was so cool. But again, I did not want to be because it was a prototype. It was a one of one. I did not want to breathe too hard on it. But it was really cool to see. And they had it in they had like those big glass cases where they have the different figures and stuff. And it was in that. So everybody who walked by got to see the Deviant next to, the Al Simmons and Gunslinger and, Curse and all the other great characters from Spawn. So it was really cool to see him in Twitch. Yeah.
So cool. Okay. Now, on your website, I know you have listings of, your convention appearances. On there it says the next one is going to be at Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con in October, from October 17th to the 20th. Are you going to have any other either store appearances or other convention appearances for the rest of the year?
As of right now, I don't know. I do update that as I have different appearances.
Oh, okay.
I do often stop by. There's the local shop about 20 minutes from me called The Geekery in Mattawa, New Jersey, and I've done a bunch of signings there and such. So if I'm going to be doing any signings, it'll probably be at shops in and around New Jersey. And as of right now, New York Comic-Con is, as far as I know, the last con I'm doing for the year, but that could change.
Yeah.
I don't know. If it does, I will definitely be announcing it on social media and I will be putting it on the site. So yeah.
Oh, all right. Any closing words to our listeners?
Just thank you, Jason, for having me on again and for chatting. I mean, you always have insightful questions and, taking the time to chat is always sweet. I like it. Thank you.
No, Erica, just thank you very much for giving me another opportunity to interview. Thank you very much. Just thank you. And again, I know listeners are going to probably get tired of hearing this, but like I said, I love your website. It's very you keep it very updated. Again, the web store, it's I just love either the issues or the trade backs that you have available. And Erica, I'm going to tell you now, like I said, I'm going to try to wrap this up, but there's something called 12 Devils Dancing Trade. I am going to pick that up because I read the little story, what the story is about. I was like, oh my God, I got to pick this. I have to check this out. It sounds pretty cool. But yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Erica, I'm being sincere about this. I really am. Just thank you for writing comics. We've already talked about, I love The Deadliest Bouquet, but I still love Forgotten Home. I just love it. That's the one I love. And I'm sorry, I have Cristobal's in my, now listeners, you guys can't see it, but you guys hear it always often through my interviews. I have tons of reading lists. So yeah, Cristobal's somewhere in there,
I was going to say I can see at least 8 long boxes, not including the shelf that they are on top of that is filled with comics and graphic novels. So there's plenty.
Yes.
There's plenty Jason has to go through. You have a lot of homework.
And you haven't even seen the now I'm pointing on my right side, like you haven't even seen the other trades I have or even novels. I'm still backed up on reading. Okay, but anyway. All right. So I just, I'm hoping after this interview that people will check out your website and your web store, Now, if you are a new comic book fan or a lifelong comic book fan, please check out Erica's website and consider picking up a copy or two of her single issues or trades. Now, please note that supplies are limited. And please check out the pricing, and if you see something you like, pick it up right away. Just that's all I'm going to say.
Yes, I only have so much room in my basement.
Yes. And also I'm being serious, also to think of picking up like let's say, for example, a copy of Rat City #1, Erica will sign it for you, and then plan to give it to a friend as like a gift, is either a birthday present and I'm being serious, like a Christmas present, because I picked up Rat City #1. It's already signed by you, Erica. I'm planning to give that to a friend of mine, and he has no idea. But I just thought it'd be a cool gift to give him. So yeah. Now I want to thank Drew.
Comics.
I'm sorry?
Give the gift of comics.
Yes. All right. I want to thank Drew, the co-host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Aloha.
In a world ravaged by war and chaos, a group of survivors must band together to brave the dangers of a post-apocalyptic landscape. The year is 2000, and the world has been plunged into darkness. The nuclear fires have burned out, leaving behind a wasteland of ruins and radiation. But amidst the rubble and despair, a glimmer of hope still remains. Join Dork Day Afternoon as they face off against marauding gangs, enemy soldiers, and even the harsh elements themselves in the world of Twilight 2000. Will our heroes survive the challenges ahead? Can they keep their own humanity intact? Or will they succumb to the harsh realities of life after the end of the world? 2 Past Midnight, an actual play podcast by Dork Day Afternoon.